did. I am not the voices in my head. I am not the pieces of the brokenness inside. I am light. 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 I'm not the mistakes that I have made or any of the things that cause me pain. I am not the pieces of the dream I left behind. I am light. 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 I am not the color of my eyes. I am not the skin on the outside. I am not my age. I am not my race. My soul inside is all light. All light. All light. Yeah. All light. I am light. I am light. I am light. I am light. Yeah. I am divinity defined. I am the God on the inside. I am a star, a piece of it all. I am light.
We are light. I am light. You are light. And today you'll find out that we are also dark. We are also dark, and it's a good thing. So welcome to Rebirth Sunday for those of you who may be here for the very first time or listening in to this special Sunday gathering for women who really are all around the United States and sometimes outside of the United States. I am your host, Reverend LaTanya Taylor, affectionately known as the Rev Coach, the Juicy Spirit Mama, the Priestess of Purpose, Pleasure, and Passion. And I am always honored to have women who want to even hear what I have to offer, or what I have to add to really ancient wisdom. Nothing is really new under the sun. We really are on a journey of remembering and activating who we already are. And so I love when you all show up in such a powerful way. I didn't actually put a whole lot out, a lot of ads or welcomes or statements out about this particular Sunday. So the people that we have in the Sunday oftentimes who show up are the regulars, and that is awesome. I'm approaching my birthday week. My birthday is actually on Tuesday, and normally during the month of May, I like to bring in special guests for the entire month. I take the month off, not teaching. I usually ask the people who are on the Rebirth Sunday team to go on and set up the Sunday. But to be quite transparent with you, I have been so focused on a project that I literally forgot my birthday. And you all know when I say I forgot my birthday, because you know I celebrate the whole month of May that I'm really focused on manifesting something really big. And some of you probably already can feel that something is shifting. Some of you may already know. And sometimes when you are focused on something big or something that you've already been focused on comes to pass, it is consuming in such a delicious and divine way. It's been my birthday gifts have been given to me all throughout the month of April, and I'm really excited about sharing. I do share in a particular order because the sisters who have been doing this work already with me, who continue to do their work, I always want to encourage you with my own life, with my own testimony, because I'm practicing the principles every day just like you. Even after you learn the principles, whether it be in school or on your own study, there is a implementation, and sometimes implementation can take years, and other times it's by divine assignment. And so I really encourage you to just stay tuned all the time, because I definitely have some special announcements that are coming up to share in community, and then it'll be shared with the public. I'm super excited about many of them. I'll probably be making some announcements around my birthday, Tuesday or Wednesday in Good Girls Gone Goddess. So that being said, we have been focused on the law of polarity, And because we've been focused on the law of polarity, and there's been some events really where we've laid out the basic foundation of the law of polarity, which means that two things exist on opposite poles at all times. When we talk about finding your balance, the law of polarity invites you to find your balance when you find yourself too far over on one side of an equation or the other. In other words, we sing the opening song, I Am Light, when we come into Rebirth Sunday, right? India Ari's beautiful dedication about who we are. But that song, who is creative, who has a song, could also sing a song about, who I am in terms of darkness. Because the law of polarity doesn't need your permission to exist. It's mathematics. It's spiritual mathematics. It is divine. So understand that when you love something, you can also hate it. When you hate something, it usually is born from love. In fact, love is actually the mother of all universal law, all emotion. Love is the mother. But love has many different faces. And we try to put on, after coming off of Mother's Day last week, oftentimes we only put on mother or love the face of nurture. But love has many faces, and those of you who have been children, you don't even have to be a mother, but you were somebody's child, and you experience love and the shades of love differently. And so many of us, when we tell the story, many of us ended up feeling unloved. And you can, and your parents or your family may ask you, well, how? How is that possible? Your mother did this for you. Your father did this for you. Our family always did this or that. And they don't understand how it is that you could end up with that conclusion about love or your being loved. That is because polarity exists at all times. And so while one person you can talk to siblings in a family, and it could be 3 or 4 siblings or just 2. And one of your siblings may have a totally different interpretation of love in the family than you do. And that is because of polarity. And so what happens when we start to disagree and we start to become positional about another person's story or experience, we begin to get a fix on one side or another. And so the same can happen in our lives. And sometimes it's intentional. If you feed people who have lost the truth of who they are, you feed them falsehood about God. And God exists either for hell and damnation and shame. And the only way to God is if you follow these tenets and this path. Man created that. And so therefore we have polarity where many of us have become very imbalanced in our relationship with our divine selves. So when we look at our divine selves, we are disconnected from both sides. And so oftentimes I minister to the good girls because the good girls are the ones who get lost in the equation. See, everybody will give their attention to the one that's demonstrating the polarity of quote-unquote bad girl. But see, when you start to understand the law of polarity, you understand there is no good or bad, because many women who have gone and been quote unquote rebellious or who have bucked the system or been a rebel, a warrior or such, oftentimes are the ones who come in and they balance their own poles. And sometimes we come in too far. I remember one sister, she'll tell the testimony when she comes to speak of being a stripper. And when she came to do the rites of passage process, she was very aware of how she went so far away from the days when she was a stripper because she found religion and lost herself. And so when she took the religion and started to find herself again, she found her divinity in spirituality. And in her spirituality, she was able to see how those days that she was a stripper served her. It served her survival mechanism. It served her femininity, and it served her abundance. And so instead of cursing what was, she can bless it. So even the things that you have cursed about your life, you're not healed until you can celebrate it, because the ex-husband, and even to a degree, there are people who have taken triumph over situations that were traumatic for them, downright post-traumatic stress syndrome, PTSD. What's wrong with my lips and my tongue this morning? Post-traumatic slave syndrome, even, when you can look back and say, oh, okay, I celebrate. And we're not there yet as a people. We still are. We still have to have an enemy. We still have to have the anger in order sometimes to be free, in order sometimes to express, in order to embrace. And we go from one end to the other. And that is why even when you study metaphysics and New Thought is a genre of spirituality, by the way. For those of you who are just coming out of the church, you need to understand that this is not New Thought. This is not New Age. New Age is pulling from the old age, if you will, or the ancient, because it's never really old either. Just like there's nothing new under the sun, it's nothing old. We are really returning and remembering who we were, because we already were a cosmic and elevated people, but there are breeds and species of us that do come from a low vibrational creation. Now that's a good segue, because a couple of you requested, maybe more than a couple, requested that I say a little something about this whole royal wedding and such. First of all, you all know that I study etymology, and the first premise of royal is where you need to question. They have deemed themselves the British royal, but royalty existed before Britain. Come on now. Do I have a church this morning? So we're going to start with point number one. So when you and your friends and the Facebook folks out here talk about the royal wedding, you put the indefinite participle, the, as if there is no other. And it may be a royal wedding, or more precise to say the British royal wedding, the European royal wedding. Now, that's one premise. The second premise is we were already royals. Check out the song by Mayamina Yusuf, who sings that we're already royals. It's all in our blood. We were already royals. So those who are saying, "Oh, we're in there now," no, we were already there. So we are basically a people who have amnesia, who do not know our history. And the third thing is there is blood on their hands. This family is responsible for the worst part, the worst atrocities, the most. When we talk about post-traumatic anything syndrome, this family's bloodline is responsible for the atrocities of the world. They control they influence and control the money, the currency, and yes, you need to study in order to know this for yourself. Now, here's the divine part, the polarity. All of what I said is factual. At any time, we can quote facts, but that would make me no different from any Hotep revolutionary walking around here just quoting facts about what they did to us. What if, I want to propose a possibility to you, what if they know that their time is up? You all heard that message in Hollywood. You got to understand, in Hollywood is the place that casts the spells. Go study what Hollywood is. Hollywood is literally a wood that is used to do particular incantations and such. Let's say that. So it's properly named, but it didn't just stop with pagans in some woods who are doing that. It's elevated to films. It's elevated to the music. It's elevated to actresses and actors who even take political positions. So the Hollywood is still a part of this whole story that we're rolling out. And so many people are still in love with a princess story, because many of us have been programmed waiting for our knight in shining armor to come and rescue us. But let's go back to what if. What if they know their time is up, as Hollywood, as it's happened in Hollywood now, talking about time up for predators, time up for the casting couch. What if their time is up and they know it? What if? In terms of genealogy. What if the time is up for the people and humanity is waking up? What if the time is up that the people who have been separated and turned against each other on these polar opposite poles of hate that we see going on, of race consciousness that we see happening with the police brutality, where what is happening with the millennials, where they're so integrated with different people that they don't even believe in the same levels of racism that we and our mothers have had to experience. What if the time is up on the old antiquated thinking about who and what we are? What if the time really is up there, right? And so what better way to demonstrate atonement in the law of polarity is that you go all the way to the other end. And not only that, this is the most pivotal point, is you all, many of us, I won't say you, assume that Meghan Markle knows who she is, even just because her mother has dreadlocks. Come on now. We say, oh, yes, it's symbolic. Yes, locks and dreadlocks was actually condemned by the British in Europe. So when Rastafarians and the Moors and such had locks in their hair, they were not only feared, and because they were feared, they were kicked out of mainstream life. And so therefore, for many years, people with dreadlocks were deemed to be unclean, and all of these things that we've done to anything that goes against colonization. And so here, yes, this is powerful on both levels. See, the two can exist in the law of polarity. There's a light side to this, and there's a dark side to this. The dark side is that even if Meghan Markle does not know who she is, and even her name has a magical speaking, Meghan Markle, a marking point. You probably should study her name, even her bloodline. And we have to know who we are as the dark mother, the melanin woman. You always have been the royal, but many of us royals have been unseated. So the family who has done the most theft, gentrification, terrorism, but call it government. It's called government. Govern your mental. And so when you have a family that's done that, what better way to atone than to return to the mother, the dark mother? She doesn't even have to know who she is. This is the law of polarity. It's interesting that her father could not attend the wedding, allegedly, through his health, or whatever stories and spins people want to put on it, whatever. At the end of the day, whether we watch it or not, it does evoke. When you watch anything on television, even when you think you're awake and you're conscious, it does evoke a certain emotion, because that's what television does. That's what the Hollywood intends to do. It keeps you stimulated in a certain energy. And so many single women watching, hoping, wishing that they could have their Meghan Markle experience, no different from watching Princess Diana years ago and others. Some people watched and picked certain things apart. Some people watched in absolutely unconsciousness completely. Whatever your watching is. I didn't watch because I was busy in my life. I mean, literally busy. I saw. Only reason I even knew it was taking place is because of Facebook, social media in general. And I get excited about that because for me, it's a statement of becoming royal in my own life and in my own atmosphere. I don't need to watch it. I want to participate in my own royalty, okay? I don't really care, because it doesn't really shift. It shifts on the collective, yes. But let me tell you how we can know this. When I come and I talk about these things that are happening with the moon, these planetary shifts that we are having, some of you pay attention, some of you blow it off, some of you say it's too deep. It's okay. But I already came in one of the groups and talked about this transition that we had with Uranus. Well, Uranus is the planet of surprises, breakthrough. So yes, you hear it and you listen to it for your personal life, but you must know that it's going to happen in the collective. There are going to be many more surprises like this, unlikely pairings. Atonement, just as well as there could be the most antiquated experience, such as two men being in a Starbucks and getting arrested just for sitting there, such as a family barbecuing and a white woman calling the police and then crying when she doesn't get her way. But there are also black authors who are calling white women on their abuse of their femininity in terms of their participation unconsciously in this race consciously. There are black authors who are sounding the alarm and teaching us to not to just because someone is a spiritual white woman thinking that she has healed and atoned certain things. And I say this with love. I really do, because any white woman in proximity to me, and there are some who call and get on this call, my love, and they listen and they take their medicine. And they are blessed by it because they are doing their work in their bloodline. Some of them are privately working with me or asking to work with me. But I also realize that when I work with a woman, I'm attaching myself to her bloodline as well. And so I have to be careful about that because everything is not for me to be attached to me. I'm an empath, right? But they call in and they take their medicine, because this is a season for all of us to take our medicine. So just like they're facing the curses and the dysfunctions and the pathology in their bloodline, we have to face ours, law of polarity. We don't get to be the victims all forever, and we don't get to be in reverse racism either. We get to stand in the truth of whatever the facts are, whatever works for the season of our life. And so the law of polarity says that both exist at the same time, but we are the alchemist that tips the scale. Our knowledge of ourselves tips the scale. Now, that is an abbreviated word today because what I want to do is, some of you had reactions, some of you have heard principles and teachings. And some of you, I want to ask you, I'm going to unmute the line, so I'm going to say this with what do you call it, a discretion. I want you to always remember this, juicy butterflies in particular. Every woman that calls into Sunday morning has not done the work that you've done. So when you start to teach principles that are in private circles, have some discernment. Because I could talk about first cause, but first cause is not the space for this container. You understand? Your content sometimes are in different containers. You know how you have a sectional, and when you go get a carry out, and you just so your food don't touch, even though sometimes it does because the juices are so good. That's kind of what happens in here. It's all good either way. But the law of polarity in closing presents an opportunity for atonement. Atonement is the thing that's in the middle. It brings you back to oneness at one mint. Atonement is at one mint. Is this atonement by the British royals? Is it? We don't know. Why don't we know? It's symbolic of a possible atonement because not only was she married in the church, but the queen gave her the crown of the 51 colonies. But you all need to know what colonies mean. Colonization. Who was the colonizer? She wore the crown of the colonizer on her head. But what about your own crown? What about the crown of your bloodline? It is when you are seated in your seat, not seated to the right hand or seated to the left hand, but when you're seated in your seat, you wear your crown. A crown is built for you. You don't wear the crown of the so-called queen. But anyway, let me keep going, Holy Spirit. Calm down, ancestors, y'all. Hush. Yes. Let me take a breath here. You take a breath with me. Is it atonement? We don't know. We don't know because when it comes to marriage, we don't know what happens in anybody's marriage when the door closes. This is the same man that had pictures of him with his friend had a Ku Klux Klan outfit on, and he had a Nazi swastika, which if you study the swastika was also our original mystery schools that does not have the perverted meaning that has been given to so-called white Nazis, but it was stolen once again from our tool chest of sacred geometry, sacred symbolism. Most of the things are. Even the white hood was stolen from our mystery schools. Did you know that? If you didn't know it, I want those of you who are, when I take off mute, what did you hear new today? Because is it atonement? I would say to you all, be less concerned with whether it is their atonement and be more concerned with your own. That is the law of polarity. That is you getting inside of the middle. But yes, pay attention. Pay attention to what's happening around us, because it is happening in nature. It's happening in the collective. There is a shift that is happening on the earth, whether they want it or not. And that's one of the things. See, even when the Pope came to Washington, D.C. 2 years ago, there were decisions made in government that not just United States government. Decisions were made around parliamentary worldwide governments that affect our money, that affect what we see that's happening in the spiritual economy of things. This Pope has been speaking a different language. Why? Because Rome they kept a lot of the major books that were destroyed when they burned all of the wisdom that put us in this amnesia spiritually, using the three major religions. Now, I don't know if I've ever been this direct and this transparent, so I do want to open, and when I say this direct and this transparent, you know I'm direct, you know I'm transparent, but I'm talking about when we start talking about higher law. But that's the season that we're in right now. And for those of you who are walking in this rebirth community, you are demanding it. And I love it, and I rise to the occasion, just like you are rising to the occasion in your life. And so, what I want to do now is transition this space and open the mic. We can just have a little town hall where you can actually share your ahas. You can share your what jumped in your spirit, the Mary and Elizabeth moment for you and what you heard today, how it applies to your life or what you see on the collective. You know why? Because I'm the host, but you are my co-host. You know why? Because many of you have special gifts of sight, special gifts of hearing, special gifts of feeling, sensing. You all have. Some of you have psychic power. You get ministered to in dreams. Some of you can see into the future. Yes, you are welcome in this space to use your voice. You do not have to just come as though you're going to the pew. Rebirth your Sunday mind. Rebirth your Sunday experience. Rebirth what Sunday means to you. It's the sun's day. What is the sun? The sun is not the S-O-N that we've been programmed to believe, but the sun is the light that sits up there. It represents the 360 degrees of shining. Oh, I could go on and on what the sun is. He who the sun sets free is free indeed. What sun? Not the S-O-N, but the S-U-N. Oh, I could talk about that too, but you all can say it for me. So the lines are now open, excuse me. And please share what comes up for you this morning.
Good morning, LaTanya. This is Keela.
Good morning.
How are you?
Great, grand, and wonderful.
Awesome. The thing that you said that stood out for me about the royal wedding was, does Meghan Markle know who she is? I wasn't interested in the wedding, but I happened to see it this morning. And I saw a lot of symbolism in the wedding, but does she know who she is stood out. For me personally, one, because I have been working in the root and sitting in myself, learning more about me and who I am. I think we all need to know who we are and understand what our power is to not just help us, but to help the entire planet shift to the next level.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yes. Yes. Thank you.
Good morning.
Are you complete? Good morning. Go ahead. Yes, go ahead.
How are you? Good morning. Thank you. So for me, watching the news yesterday, the entire ceremony and process for me was polarity at work, period. because here we have this Aryan prince marrying a woman who holds, if you really look at it, who holds both sides of polarity, the light and the dark. She has an Aryan father and a melanated mother. And so she holds within her both. And so you have polarity at its finest all throughout, simply because even in the ceremony, you had implemented the dark. You have a melanated preacher that people had, quote unquote, mixed feelings about. Then you have, a melanated choir, whom some enjoyed the music, but some criticized even that. How can they sing something like that, in the church? You have polarity just all throughout the entire ceremony, even her dress. The fact that she didn't wear some of the traditional frou-frou princess dresses, completely opposite of what other past upcoming royals would wear. So polarity was all throughout the ceremony, which does speak to a huge shift, a major shift. And, just like, LaTanya, you were talking about the planetary alignments right now, if this isn't in alignment with the shifts that are going on, I don't know what is. If we look at it, take a step back and look, I don't know what is. She's now a duchess, of an area within the British rule. So now I'm interested to see the shifts all over the globe within a lot of, monarchs that are still there. I'm interested to see how they are going to respond now and what shifts they're planning to make and to, happen and take place. Because this is truly something opposite of, quote unquote, the norm. So I'm really interested to be in this time and this place and watch how the world, the globe, is going to change based on her talk, based on her divine purposes that are coming up, and how she'll be received. But this is nothing new. Just like you said, we've been royal. It's just the British royal.
Okay. Thank you. I want to caution you all about propaganda as well, because they revert. This is law of polarity. Check this out. I was watching a documentary last week, and I don't know how I got caught up in it late night. I don't purchase cable like on my TV, but so sometimes you become you get access to stuff you don't even know that's still on TV. So one day they were talking about how the family is adjusting because they have outright belligerent racists. That's what they call them. That's what the news calls them. Who have to adjust. One of them is a family member, and she wore a brooch. The brooch, if you look it up, go look up what the image of the blackamoor. It's spelled just like it said, blackamoor. Well, they said that she had to come back and apologize because she went to the official dinner where Meghan was being introduced to the Queen, or some form of welcoming of her into the family. It was a whole pomp and circumstance, and she wore the blackamoor brooch. Well, look, y'all, be careful of who you let tell you to be offended, because oftentimes those people don't know what those symbols represent, even if they're so-called black scholars. The blackamoor brooch was symbolic of when we were royal. Hello? So this family member wore a symbol of when we were royal, when we were sitting, well, we still are in Africa and in many places still sitting on the throne. But the blackamoor, the Moors, represent this time period. So you don't have to be offended by what is true. And so, but the news tried to make it as something so she wouldn't wear it anymore. That keeps us asleep. She won't wear it anymore. Who would be offended by their own true history? Did she wear it to offend? Maybe she did, but maybe she didn't, because they know who we are. We don't. And when I say they and I say we, I'm talking about the collective. Anyone else? Law Polarity.
Good morning.
Good morning. This is Tommy. Go ahead.
Come on through, Tommy.
Okay. So, first of all, thank you, LaTanya, for allowing us to speak on this royal wedding. And
I'm speaking on the law of polarity.
Yes. And I agree with you, because, and like Dana said, it was polarity at its finest. First of all, I want to speak to the dress. What I noticed was how much material was in the dress. There was a lot of material, and it reminded me so much of the dresses that the women wear in Africa. It's a lot of material, and whether she's conscious of what she did or not, she did it. I mean, it could be her ancestral remembrance that kicked in. But when I saw that, I was reminded of how the Pope worships behind closed doors, a black woman.
Yes.
And once
there you go.
Once I had a minister, and I mean, this is a Southern minister, and a lot of these ministers, like LaTanya has explained to us, they know this information. But if they shared it, World War III would break loose in the church. But he said that he went to South Carolina, to Myrtle Beach, him and his wife, and there was a interracial couple, a white man and a black woman, and the man was sitting on the beach, and he had his head in her lap. And he looked at his wife, and he told his wife, he said, that's the happiest woman in the world, because he knows that she's really his mother. And that really touched me, you know, based on everything that we have studied. And so another thing that was brought to mind, I mean, there was so much polarity. I mean, and I don't, like you said, with these planetary shifts, it looks like it's something that probably had to happen. Because if you looked at the ceremony and you looked at the people, you could see that they didn't want it. They didn't want it, but it had to happen. They didn't want to hear that black choir. They didn't want to hear that preacher. They were like, oh, my God. And you could see that. And then there was the other side who really, you know, desired it. But going back to our studies, there, after the ceremony, there was a period where they had to go behind closed doors and sign something. And I thought about what LaTanya had taught us about contracts. We don't know what type of contract that girl had to sign. We don't know. But they definitely signed a contract, and then they came back in. So having said that, I was asking myself, why are you watching this thing about these people? And then as I watched it, all of these things came to my remembrance. And I'm curious to see also how this is going to change the world, because he really did step out. And like you said, Harry, he did have all of that stuff in his past, LaTanya, and so maybe it had to happen. And the other thing that is noteworthy about him, he spent a lot of years in Africa, a lot. And so, you know,
let's go deeper. Let's go deeper. You just brought up something real good. Let's look at the law of polarity of this. Yes, there is the mother, the divine mother, the melanin magic woman, who's the mother of all civilization. But guess what? His mother Diana, was loved by all. She was a humanitarian. At the end of the day, this is Diana's son.
Yes.
So you still go back to the mother. No matter who they are, these boys know. They live it. These boys know that it was her royalty in that family that killed her. Y'all got to know. Y'all got to study Diana and what happened with Diana. She married outside of her race, or was about to marry someone who was a quote unquote Middle Eastern, one of the richest families in the world. There are people who are rich in lineage that are not reported on the books. That's how wealthy they are, and that's who she was connected to. Look, Dana, gold. This family had all of the gold, not the British family, but the family that she was in the car with when the so-called paparazzi caught her. This boy is still from Diana's womb. So he knew, and usually it's the young child that is the rebel child, and he's a redhead. I could go on and on. It's still from her womb. The woman who was gone too soon. Those boys had to grieve the loss of their mother and probably hated being in that family for a period. And there will always be a child who will go along with the program, and there will always be one who will come and change it. Yeah. They were born from the womb of a humanitarian who was not loved that much by that family. Y'all come on now. Y'all got to see the depth of the womb speaking in here. The womb is speaking. Yes. Oh, God, I'm so glad you brought that up, Tommy. That's why I love it when y'all come and bring your divinity and your wisdom in this space. Yes, because our bellies jump. Our bellies jump. Yeah. There's a sister on this call this morning who didn't know any of this, and her belly is jumping. Let's not get caught up with, remember why we're here, growing forth in Goddess, rebirthing Sunday, so that we can rebirth our whole life. There's a sister on this call who won't say how much she didn't know. Or someone who will listen to it. But because you all are now standing in the position of divine mother, you are devoting your life to your divine feminine, you are waking up other wombs. Come on now. All right. There was someone else who wanted to share.
Came through.
Yes. I've been posting for a while that we are in the season of reaping. And things are going to come full circle because they have to come full circle because that's the law. So you when you mentioned all of this, you know, I can't even talk right now because they've sold some things and it's time for them to reap. Yeah. We were queens and kings, and so we have to return to where we came from. And so I didn't even know the depth of what I was saying is, it's reaping season. It's reaping season. It's time for us to reap. It's time for us to reap where we've sown, where we've come from, our lineage. We have to honor our ancestors. Yes, we have to do all of that. And this is just a symbol of that.
Yep.
I'm full right now. I'm so full. I really am. I'm so full.
Woo. Oh, well, release it, honey. Release it in here. Release it.
Even sowing and reaping is polarity.
Come on now. Come on now. Come on.
360 degrees.
Woo.
Yeah, even sowing and reaping is polarity. So you brought that right on out.
And we've been
sowing and sowing and sowing and sowing and sowing and sowing, and now, like you said, it's time to reap. Polarity and planetary.
And therefore, yes, and therefore, if we know that it's reaping season, guess what? It's time for us to get seated in position. I taught that how many years ago? Position to prosper. I taught that. Go look that up somewhere. I don't know where it is, but it's somewhere. It's probably in Good Girls Gone Bodies. But position to prosper. See, we got in position a long time. There were hints and signals about us getting in position a long time ago. And some of us are going to be forced just like that family. The British family doesn't like it, but there are black people who don't like the changes either. Come on now.
Yeah.
The change. People sit here and talk about protesting Waffle House and protesting Starbucks and all of this stuff, but they don't know who they are. Because if we don't know, if all we're doing is protesting and we're not getting in position to own our own restaurants and our own Waffle Houses and our own, and be in position to own. Come on now, our own coffee houses, not just franchise with Starbucks, but own our own. Go to the source and own it again. If we don't get in position, then guess what? There are going to be people like you who oppose you because there are people. Go study who the Boule are. Go study who the Boule people are. The secret societies. We want to talk about the Illuminati, but deal with the secret societies in black families. Come on now, in our own families. And then every time black people begin to rise up and call for real social change, they come out and quiet the people. No, we shouldn't do it like that. Trust and believe there are people amongst us on payroll, and we love them.
Yeah.
Until we know who we are. But anywho, who else? Anyone else have something busting forth from your belly? An aha, an awareness, a question?
Hi, LaTanya. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. This is Tony.
Good morning.
What came up for me is I think that this is a season to remember. And I feel like, for me personally, it's like we are royalty. We've come from a place that we have forgotten. And all of the signs, all of the messages are reminding us of who we are and where we're supposed to be, and that we have to take our rightful position. And I love it. And I'm here for it, and I'm just thankful that I can see it.
Ashe. What a story. What a story to tell. And this is your Juicy Butterfly sister for the Juicy Butterflies in the group. You may not have heard her voice in a very long time. It's so delightful to hear you. I know you could have chosen to be anywhere, shouting, praising, worshiping somewhere. So it's an honor whenever the sisters come home, to this home, I should say, our little space here on the planet, which will be growing and growing and growing.
There's nothing little about this space.
No, not at all.
Ashe. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else, beloveds, before we pray? Anyone else got some juices flowing, some buzzing happening in your atmosphere?
Well, something is burning in my spirit. And I got to go back real quick to when the minister yesterday talked about fire. He talked about love and he talked about fire. And he talked about how love is the greatest force in the universe. And he also talked about fire and how none of these things could work without some fire behind it. And I went to a congressional hearing the other day, and I'm just so reminded of everything. Because I think this is the season of reaping, and it was really a mess. It was just a mess. It was horrendous, and so the congressman asked our director, "What is it that you need to make this work? What is it that how can you make this right? What can you do? Do you need more money?" And I'm reminded of a lecture that I went to on some ancient African history. And the lecturer was saying, I don't know if it was Dr. Africa or if it was Samaj or who it was, he said, these people are waiting for us to come take ours. So I'm just saying, we need to light a fire. Because the world is waiting for us to just come take it, because this is the season of reaping. So that's all I got to say.
Yes, and that is the fear that we will remember, the fear that we see. And I would encourage you all never to use the word white supremacy again, because it's not a true statement. They don't feel supreme to us. They know who we are. And so the white supremacy really is just as an elevated title for people who feel inferior. But, yes, and the fear is they will remember and that they will take it. And so y'all, all churches all around the globe right now talking about take it by force and shouting and praying, take it by force. But when we talk about taking it by force, a lot of these same people are the ones who say, no, don't do that. We can't do it like that. Come on now. This is the polarity that now this law goes deeper. I'm going to tell you it goes deeper than this. And so I would encourage you, to be present with it. Even look at it when you study your Bible to see the law of polarity, because see, every priest sometimes may have been trained to be a warrior, just like Harry. Look at the polarity here. Harry was a warrior. He celebrated because he went into the army in the first place, and not just for pomp and circumstance. If you remember his life, he insisted on fighting. He put his quote-unquote royal life in jeopardy. Same is true. We have to also, as mothers, as the womb keepers, the culture keepers, just like we train our children on how to love, we have to train them on how to fight and be warriors. And when certain things happen, how not to be so overly emotional. We get sad too quick by something we see on social media. It just broke my heart to see that. No. When are we, the womb warriors, going to say enough is enough? There's a law of polarity where even the goddess there's a face of the goddess called Kali. And there's a time where we have to be able to rise up and be able to know how to fight and defend our household. And just like our immune systems are important, we have to have an immunity in terms of our femininity. And there are cells within our own body that fight for us every day. There are cells who fight off bacteria that we put in. And when the cells can't fight off the bacteria, this is when we start to have imbalances in the body called dis-ease. There are cells that our bodies are very merciful, just like God. Mm-hmm. Our bodies are merciful to even the thoughts we think. Come on now. If every thought we really thought about ourselves and other people came to pass, where would we be? That is where mercy and grace comes in, and that's atonement. So the message today was the holy atonement of polarity. Please rest and assured that atonement is a process. Uranus will be in Taurus for 7 years. So this is a process. It just like the wedding. The wedding is not the beginning of a relationship. It's symbolic of what was and what is shall be. The wedding is not over. Everybody wants to have a wedding. The marriage begins when the moment that you agree that this is you want to spend your life together. And then the real work begins, because now she's in a family. Y'all ever said you want to go hang out with a family, and then you go hang out with that family, and you say, ooh, I didn't know they had all this issue going on.
Yeah.
Because you see it. But so understand that there, if anything, we probably should hold space of prayer for that womb called Meghan Markle. So on that note, let's do that. Let's hold space first for our own wombs, for our own bloodline, for the atonement that's necessary in our own families. Come on now. Some of you are in families because you were the light child or the dark child, where you were not embraced in your own family, but you came to show up and rise and rebirth anyway. Some of you are here to heal that pathology. Some of you were the one in the family who did not go along with the program, and some of you are gifted, and you have spiritual gifts that you had to hide, because if you let anybody know that their Christianity or their Islam or their whatever would have shamed you and prayed for you and sent you to the altar and scrubbed and cleansed you, because there's no room for your spiritual gift to show up that way if it's not sanctioned. Come on now. You are here. When you pray these prayers, you are praying into your womb, your bloodline, and you are clearing away 7 generations of pathology before you and 7 generations of pathology that you get to interrupt that doesn't have to come after you. You, sister, who are in this space, that's who you are. So when we pray these prayers, we're not just going through pomp and circumstance. When we call forth these ancestors, we are connecting with our bloodline, honoring the women who sacrificed, who prayed, who stood in kitchens, who took abuse. When we come, we're honoring even beyond the pain. We're going to the royalty, the women who sat in the royal court, who knew who they were. They wore their own crown. Oh, yeah, call those ancestors forth with your tears. Yeah. Call them forth with your song. Call them forth with your dance, because you may not know their names. But when you dance, when you sing, when you have your orgasms, when you no longer apologize for who you are calling forth your bloodline who knew who they were. You're calling them. I'm calling them forth now. They're coming right now. They're here surrounding us right now, because we don't have to know their name to be in the energetic presence, the energetic fire. We are not in any way small potatoes here. We came to be the whole stew. So call them forth at the point of what you can remember, but let your body connect beyond what you know.
Yeah.
So speak their name.
Pat Hamlet,
Sadie B.
Josie B. Taylor, the women of the Choctaw Nation, the Wampanoag Nation, the people of Lemuria,
Lorraine Calloway,
the Dogon family, my cosmic mother, the Queen Mother,
Naomi
Ashe. Speak it with power. Speak it with power.
Nefertiti.
Ashe power. Ashe. Call them forth. Connect with them in your feelings. Hallelujah.
Bertha Logan.
All the
Ashe. Ashe. All of
names of which we
all
may never.
Ashe. Call forth the line of Meghan Markle. We speak into her bloodline and her mother's bloodline today. We connect knowing that even those of us who are priests and priestess in this space, that we are the medicine women, that we send medicine today to her bloodline, for her to show up in a way that she may not even know what her yes means. She may not know that her yes was sacred beyond her, and maybe she does. But we call forth our bloodline and the royal court of our bloodline to show up for us as provision. For God, who has given us a vision, each and every woman in here shall have the provision. We thank you, Holy Spirit, for the divine law that has taken place in our learning and remembering, so that we can implement these principles and pretexts in our lives, that we become the subtext of the pretext, that we become the main text. We thank you, Holy Spirit, that any contracts that no longer serve us, that we will tear and decease all order of business of pathology. That we come forth now speaking to our very DNA and to ourselves, that it is our time and it is our season to reap the cornucopia of blessings that are our divine birthright. For those who have been toiling and laboring and who have been sacrificing and martyring themselves, that we declare ourselves no longer that woman, that we are coming forth for the ease and the easiness of our life and for divine flow and divine abundance. That those of us who are looking to be rescued by knight in shining armor, that we will become our own SOS. That we will throw ourselves a life raft and we won't fight the people who come to give us rescue. We will not fight the teachings that come with our cognitive dissonance, worried about hell and damnation. For there is no hell that anyone can put us in except our own mind. We thank you, Holy Spirit, for the little girls, for the little brown girls, for the little girls who are of mixed race, who are watching us as we watch Megan. That we will be the ones who will whisper into their ear of that they are connected to the bloodline of the shrine of the Black Madonna, the one that the Pope goes to and makes his offering, that we are connected to that shrine. We are the temple that they seek cover in and run into, that we are the ones that we have been waiting for to show up. All of our ancestors in our bloodline, we speak to them, and we ask for our ancestors to work on our behalf in a way that they may not have been able to do on the earth side. We thank you for those who are assigned to us in our cosmic committee, that when we think that we have to push and struggle and make something happen, that sometimes it's our surrender into who we really are and what we really need in that moment. Help us, Holy Spirit, to surrender, to take our hands off of it in a masculine way that hardens us, that makes us exert our adrenals. I thank you, Holy Spirit, for those of us who know that we are enough and that we can show up as enough in every moment of our femininity. We thank you, Holy Spirit, for every woman who is willing to learn what she does not know, that we will go into the places of I don't know what I don't know and be okay with the uncovering, the revealing, the revelation, for there is always more for us to be, do, and to have. And so we give ourselves permission to be, to do, and to have it. And so, therefore, we speak these words knowing that it shall not return to us void, that it will accomplish that which I have sent it forth to do. And my sisters touch and agree by saying yes, ashe, and amen. So shall it be.
Ashe.
All right, my love. I look forward to seeing you on the other side. If you do have a sister that you want to recommend into the rites of passage process, or you would like to refresh in the rites of passage process, it is open for this entire month of May, and then the doors will be closed so that we can finish out our 6-month process with a consecration. And I look forward to other ways that we will be connecting on the other side in our She Magic coaching clinics and much, much more in Good Girl, Son Goddess. I love you, and there's nothing you can do about it. See you on the other side, beloved.
Love you.
Thank you. Love you.
Peace.
Happy Sunday. Hanging up.